Jump off that exhausting hamster wheel and into balanced living with Dr. Marissa.
Promise you joy in the mystery.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah. Her mission, to be a beneficial presence on the planet. Her purpose, to be your personal advocate to live, laugh, love, learn. Her life motto, don't die wondering. Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And welcome. You are tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News Radio, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Spotify, Stitcher, iTunes, Amazon Music, and more, because I'm here to make sure that you start your day as positive as possible, because Lord knows things are going to come at you all day. And if you start on a positive foot, you're more likely to not only help your facial lines look more attractive with a smile, as well, it is very clear now that your attitude, your emotion, your mood is very tied into your health. And especially during the pandemic, we want to have our immune systems operating at full swing so that we can fight all of the potential dangers to your health. So, have I made the case for you to start the day with me in the most positive way? And if you've missed any of my incredibly fabulous shows, please go to my YouTube channel, free subscribe there, and you will get all 500 and gosh, I don't even know what we're at now. I'm going to have to look during the break, but I know that I'm over 500 now. So you'll have plenty to listen to when you're not tuned in live, because I am absolutely wanting you to be happy 88% of the time. So today is October the 15th, and it is National Shawarma Day. And if you haven't tried it, try something new, because food is one of the delicious points of joy in your life. I call it the deliciousness of life. I've never understood powder or snack bars, because I want to make every calorie deliciously count. If you've seen some of my social media, you'll see me taking that sip of coffee, and that first one in the morning, which is just, helps me start one with life. So if you're a person that doesn't enjoy your food because you're always in a hurry and you haven't really tasted it, and you inhale, or you're trying to, get 7 things done at the same time as getting your breakfast, lunch, or dinner, today, the Dr. Marissa Challenge is to be one with your food, to just taste, especially your favorite foods, past that first bite, and savor the deliciousness of life. Okay. It's also National Cheese Curd Day. You don't have to have cheese curds. It's National I Love Lucy Day. That's a beautiful actress who just brought the best out in humor, and I love laughter. That's my favorite sound on the planet, because it's cardio for my soul. So take today as an excuse, as National Lucy Day, I Love Lucy Day, to watch an episode of I Love Lucy. It's also, on the opposite end of the spectrum, National Grouch Day. Pretend you didn't hear that, okay? Because I don't want to give anybody permission to be a grouch. It's also National White Cane Safety Day. I am so grateful. I have a friend who is an inventor. You've heard his interview on my show several times. Ron Klein is his name. And if you haven't checked him out, he's the grandfather of possibilities. His latest invention, which I absolutely love, is the ability for people who are blind to use this device and point it at items and have an audible description of what they are. And isn't that fabulous? So that reminds me, I'm going to have to call him, get him on the show again. But that is a recognition and something that you may not have known, that is helping the blind population. But it is National White Cane Safety Day. And if you have sight, I want you to use that as a moment to be grateful for it. There's so much to be grateful for, but definitely you don't remember those things if you are scrolling through the bad news every morning, which is why I want you to start with me, because I do point out what is good, what is right. And that is the answer too for today's question. How do I feel better today? It is take a bite of my gratitude sandwich. So for those of you who haven't heard this, good. I love describing this. Those of you who've already heard it and are tired of it, too bad. Because I want you to have a gratitude sandwich every day. And that is 8 specific things first thing in the morning when you wake up. What are 8 specific things that you are grateful for? And you can't say friends and family because it's too general. I want specific. So I love the feeling of my comforter. I love the way my fan keeps me cool all night. I love the first taste of my incredible coffee in the morning. I love and am grateful for my 2 beautiful inside and out daughters. I'm grateful for the way I get to have the show 9 years later. I'm grateful for my #1 best-selling book, 8 Ways to Happiness from Wherever You Are. I'm grateful for the sound of laughter, which is my favorite. And I'm grateful for the opening up that I can travel again. And I'm actually today traveling to surprise my younger daughter for her birthday. So hopefully she's not listening. And if you are and you know who she is, do not give away the surprise. And then finally, I'm grateful that I'm alive. I'm grateful that I'm on this joyride called life. So that's the top of the bun for your gratitude sandwich, and the bottom of the bun. And this is the most important part of the bun, because a lot of us are so hard on ourselves. We're our own worst critics. We judge ourselves more harshly than anybody else does. And that is non-happy making. That part of ingratitude for yourself will keep you unhappy and sick. So the bottom of the bun is 8 things you specifically appreciate about yourself. So what are some things that you do like about yourself? And if you can get this down, if you can practice loving yourself and soothing yourself with kind statements, I promise you, you will have a better day. So that's your gratitude sandwich, the answer to the question of the day: how do I feel better now? And I have a show sponsor today who is near and dear to my heart. I get to be one of the sponsors of the Chinese Spotlight film at the Newport Beach Film Festival. So take a listen and meet me at the Pacific Showcase this year. Do you like films? The 22nd annual Newport Beach Film Festival is back to in-person screenings. Orange County's largest entertainment event will run from October 21st to October 28th. This prestigious multicultural event attracts over 58,000 attendees and screens over 350 films in 7 days. Join me, Dr. Marissa, on October 27th as the Asian Oprah will be on the red carpet to introduce the highly anticipated 3-time Academy Award nominated Chinese Spotlight film, 1 Second. Celebrate diversity and art in cinema by being part of the Newport Beach Film Festival, and get your tickets at www.newportbeachfilmfest.com. That's www.newportbeachfilmfest.com. When we come back, I have a delightful guest for you. His name is Ben Gioia, and he has a message for anyone who's ever wanted to write a book. He has a program, very affordable, that is coming up in 2 weeks, and I wanted to bring him to you so that you, who I think everybody has a story to tell, and everybody could write a book. So come back here on Take My Advice. I'm Not Using It. Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show. NBC News Radio station that leaves no listener behind.
Tonight like we're wrapping up Women's History Month with a story about a woman whose mission is to spread happiness. Dr. Marissa Pei is a survivor of childhood trauma and a reformed tiger mom. She's an accomplished woman who has endured hardship, but she says she's also found a path to happiness.
I'm Dr. Marissa, and I'm making history in spreading happiness. I was born in a little town, a little German town in Canada. My parents came from China, and they wanted me to blend in as much as possible, so I was told, don't speak Chinese. So I learned actually to lie about who I was. People would say, are you Hawaiian? And I'd say, yes, because Chinese was just not a good thing to be. I had a tiger mom, and in an effort to motivate me, she would say that I was fat, that I was ugly, and that I was clumsy. To prove she was wrong, I started modeling and I dropped 40 pounds in like less than a year, and unhealthy. I was constantly trying to prove that voice wrong.
And this is a show about hope and how to be happy.
So that began my own journey to shift from blaming to, wait a minute, there is a role in pain in life. And what I've realized is pain in life chisels us into more and more good, more and more expansion, and more beauty. Yes, now I am known as the Asian Oprah. And the first time someone called me that, I went, oh, whoa, way too big shoes to step into. One of my teachers is Michael Bernard Beckwith, and he's a very good friend of Oprah's, introduced me to Oprah as, this is the Asian Oprah. And I'm like, and she looked at me, and she looked down, she looked at me, smiled, and said, nice pants.
Dr. Marissa, also known as the Asian Oprah, reporting live.
When I say this is Dr. Marissa reporting, also known as the Asian Oprah, it just immediately sets people at ease. They laugh. It's such an honor. Many of us say, I am my own worst critic. Nobody's harder on me than I am. And my response to that is, stop it. Why are you doing that to yourself? You have to be your biggest fan, because if you can't at the end of the day say, I did a good job, who is? We don't have to constantly be angry at the things that are wrong. Why don't we choose to be happy about things that are right? We have the choice. That's our muscle. And life is so amazing if we can see it.
Dr. Marissa says the road to happiness starts with your mind, and you should end your day by reminding yourself of 8 things you successfully accomplished.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pei.
And we're back. You're tuned into Take My Advice. I'm not using it. Get balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News Radio, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere, iHeartRadio, Spotify, Amazon Music, Audible, and a bunch of other platforms because I want to be able to splatter more hope and happiness as far and wide as I can. Because I'm on a happy 88 mission, 88 million more happy people in the next 8 years. And so I have shows and topics that help you to that end. And today is no exception. I have with me in studio a man named Ben Gioia. And I met him on LinkedIn, and he liked my stuff and I liked his stuff. And so next thing you know, he's here. And he's a 3-time best-selling author and creator of a program called Publish position, and profit master plan. He makes it easy for coaches, consultants, speakers, and solopreneurs to write a world-class book in 5 weeks and get clients before they're published. This means that they can create the life they want, the business they love, and make a bigger impact right away. Please welcome to my studio, Ben Gioia. And hello there, Ben. How are you?
Oh, I'm so well, Marissa. It's such a pleasure to be here. Thank you for having me today.
Of course, of course. So let's start at the beginning. Did
Sure.
you know when you were a kid that this is what you were going to be doing?
Absolutely not. But there was a little a little bit of a hint, because when I was 12 years old, I realized I wanted to write a novel, and some very, very smart teacher made us start keeping journals from when we were 12 years old. So the seed was planted, and it took about 30 or so years to really sprout into something that I recognize today.
Oh, wonderful. So you started a journal, your teacher encouraged you. I actually had an English teacher tell me that I was a horrible writer, which sounds really bad, but it honestly helped me. And I dedicated the forward, the beginning of my best-selling book to her, because when she gave me that negative feedback, it actually helped fuel me into practicing the art. Did you have that experience as well? Have you learned through challenges, so to speak?
Yeah, I would say most of the significant learning in my life has been through challenges, and probably there's several stories I can share, but one of my favorites was getting ready to do a 9-day hike through the Himalayas in India. So 12,000 feet mountains, going over 16,000 foot passes every other day. And I did not show up with good hiking boots. So I got my boots fixed in India. Oh yeah, no. Talk about. I was so mad at myself, and so self-judgmental at this point. So basically, ended up with blisters on my Achilles tendon from day one. So if you can imagine 144,000 steps of trekking, ow, 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 ow. That was one of the most terrible experiences, and then turned into probably one of the most valuable lessons of my life.
Right. So is that something you talk about in your programs, is turning adversity into opportunity?
It is. Exactly. I do that programs. I do it in my keynote as well. And, really that foundational bit from that experience was that difference between pain and suffering, right? Like, we all deal with pain in our lives, mental, physical, emotional, spiritual, but we have the choice around suffering. And are we going to feed that pain and make ourselves and everybody else miserable, or are we going to deal with the pain and make proactive choices to move forward?
Mm-hmm. So you have a program that helps people write books very quickly. Do you believe, and I've heard this before, that everybody has a book in them?
I do. I don't know if everybody has a novel in them or a memoir in them, but for people who have a message to share, a story to share, I believe everybody does have a book in them. And I think that the biggest hesitation that people have is, all of the stuff that they think will keep them stuck, writer's block, self-judgment, fear, doubt, do I have something worth to say? All of that is chatter up here. So when you unpack that chatter, you actually realize, oh my God, I do have something valuable. And when you connect with the right support, you can bring that message to the world.
Beautiful, beautiful. And where are you hailing from? I see nice trees in the back.
Yeah, thank you. So my normal home is San Francisco, but right now the nice trees, I'm in a small town in southern Italy near Salerno called San Marco, and I'm here for a few months.
Oh, and what are you doing over there, if I can be nosy and curious? I'm a broadcast journalist, so.
Absolutely.
No.
I would expect nothing less. So a couple things. I've always wanted to make visits out of the country a regular part of my life, especially because I can work remotely. I do have Italian heritage, so that was some of the reason as well. And then in this funny world that we share of Zoom meetings and online stuff, I have a dear friend who's in Italy, And we'd been talking for the last 10 years, and he kept saying, blah, 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 we're going to our summer house. Every year we're going to our summer house. And I finally went, Giuseppe, can I visit you at your summer house? And he said, of course, come. So I came.
Oh, that's wonderful. So you're so Italiano. The only Italian I know is Dulce Simpatico, which is you're nice, right? And Dove sei stato tutta la mia vita, which is where have you been all my life? My first boyfriend was Siciliano. So anyways, back to the topic at hand. So you wrote a journal. You wrote in that journal. Tell me some of the next most influential stops on the joyride of your life.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you saying that. All throughout high school, I was on the yearbook and eventually ascended, if you will, to being the editor-in-chief. So I just was publishing stuff since I was 13 years old, and then studied writing in college and also psychology, right? And there's always that deep interconnection between writing and psychology, and
really?
Yeah, right. These wacky humans, and then got into the magazine world for about 8 years. When I hail from New York originally, had a career in magazines, some that you probably recognize: Condé Nast Traveler, Modern Bride, the AARP magazine. Yeah, so there was always the writing and the editing and the publishing in the mix. And it wasn't until I took that leap to be an entrepreneur that I started going, you know what? I want to make a big impact, and I can't do it under anybody else's umbrella because I don't want to do it how most for-profit businesses are doing it, because kind of sketchy. And most nonprofits don't have the impact, or at least the ones I was dealing with didn't have the impact that I wanted to make. So that's what really took me out on my own. And then several years into that, I finally went, oh my goodness, I can help people write their books.
Great. So you do have a very strong background in publishing. So you do know, and you alluded to very nicely, the sketchy side of business, which when we come back from break, we will talk about, because I do think that especially now when people, the good news about hashtag COVID silver lining is that people are looking to do different things than they were doing. And one of those things is to be an entrepreneur, or as you call, solopreneur. But there are some red flags and cautions, especially in this whole area of publishing, because the whole book industry has changed tremendously, which we both know. So when we come back, we're going to hear more from Ben Gioia and how he can help you take your book idea or book intention to a published book in 5 weeks. When we come back here on Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on NBC News Radio, KCAA, the station that leaves no listener behind.
Take back your life with Dr. Marissa Pay.
And we're back. You're tuned into Take My Advice, I'm Not Using It, Get Balanced with Dr. Marissa, the morning show here on KCAA, NBC News Radio, CNBC News Radio, KCAA, AM 1050, FM 102.3, FM 106.5, and streaming everywhere. iHeartRadio, Stitcher, Spotify, Amazon Music, iTunes, and more. Oh, and Audible these days as well. And just so you know, we just got our ratings. This is the #1 talk radio show and station, both at the 8 a.m. hour, my show, and the station is also #1 in the Inland Empire here in Southern California. And I'm so grateful for that. Thank you for your continued support, especially my station owner, Fred Lundgren, his son, Mike, who does the back end, as well as Mark Westwood, who is healing, thank goodness, our station manager, and Rick Roll, who does the automation for me. Thank you so much. I never, ever want to forget all the guys that are standing behind me and supporting me. And remember that if you want to do more than just listen, you can find my past 550, but who's counting, shows on my YouTube channel, which is a free subscribe. You'll get an alert every 8 a.m. in the morning so you can listen in, and or you can watch my red carpet playlist, my interviews with Halle Berry, John Travolta, Quincy Jones, and more, because I love to spotlight people who help bring their spotlight to areas of temporary darkness. So if you missed the show with Fran Drescher talking about how to reduce your risk of cancer, please do go and free subscribe at my YouTube channel. And today, if you've just tuned in, before the break, we have been talking about a book that you have in you. Are you interested in being a writer? Are you interested in publishing a book in less than 5 weeks? Well, my guest today, Ben Gioia, is the person to help you do that. He is not just a publisher, he's a writer, he's also a producer of events, and he has one coming up at the end of this month, in fact, in 2 weeks. So please welcome back Ben Gioia. Ben,
Hi.
Tell me about this event that you have coming up in 2 weeks.
Yeah, thank you so much. So it's called Publish, Position, and Profit Master Plan. And the whole idea is whether you have a book, an idea for a book, a half-done manuscript, or you need to do a rewrite, and you're not sure what to do about publishing and how to make an impact, how to position yourself, how to monetize the book. This event is engineered to help you create a custom roadmap that makes sense for your business, your life, and the way that you want to serve people with your message. So it's super interactive, very workshop, deeply transformational. It will not only give you tremendous value, but it will surprise the heck out of you as well. And it's my absolute honor and delight to be able to share that content and teach in that arena, so to speak. And Marissa, thank you so much for sharing it with your listeners.
Of course. Now, how do people register for that? We'll do this again at the end of the show, but just since you've talked about it and piqued the interest, how do people sign up?
Yeah, thank you. So to go to publishpositionandprofit.com. Once again, publishpositionandprofit.com. You can just register right on that page, and you will be shocked and amazed by what you see when you get there.
All right, perfect. So when people, let's say, before the break, I said that we would talk about, this whole publishing industry. So let's do a little history lesson in the changes that you've seen, and certainly that I've seen. I sort of landed right at the cusp of when people are starting to mass self-publish. So let's go back. Back in the day of, let's say, Stephen King, very recognizable author. I don't know if he was rejected his first manuscript. I don't know if you know. I know the story of Jack Canfield and Chicken Soup because I've interviewed him, and he was rejected like hundreds of times. My friend, Dr. Greg Reed, same thing. First thing that he tried to do was rejected by hundreds of people. And then the one who did accept it said, I just want you to change the beginning, the middle, and the end. So being published in the old days was very, very difficult to get a traditional publisher who would say, we like the idea. And then they gave you royalties, right? And in your magazine, you would pay people to write for the magazine. What was it like when you were working? Are you allowed to say when you were maybe the AARP or Condé Nast, about what was the range of pay for magazine articles?
Gosh, it really depends on the magazine, the article, and the writer. And
so as little as and as much as.
Yeah.
Just out of curiosity.
Yeah, as little as $100, depending on the little piece, right? Little consumer piece, for example, or a quick hello from a far-flung place around the world. Up to several $1,000s if it was like an established travel writer, for example, or somebody who was an experienced journalist who had written a few books already. So, people's books. This still seems to be the case, regardless of the publishing context, right? You have a book, not only is there the credibility bit, but people will often be paid more because they have the books under their belt.
So even if it is a self-published book, that is still works towards your credibility. So let's talk about, because I was paid the only article I've ever gotten paid for was I got $300. So I feel good because that's above the $100 threshold. But okay, so let's go to traditional publishing. That was the way you sort of pitched your book. You tried to get a literary agent. The literary agent would pitch the big 4, 5, 6 publishers, and if you got it, you got a contract, you got royalties, you would write the book, you'd get an advance, and then they would do the marketing and do all the book signing and all of that. And that was, would you say that was the norm? That was sort of the industry norm?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
And even for the outliers, as far as the public was concerned, that's definitely the industry norm.
Right. So then all of a sudden we had this, anyone can publish a book, and you can self-publish a book and sell it on Amazon. They had a platform for you. You can, go design your own cover. You can pay a certain amount of money and get your book produced, right? And sell it. So you get all of the profits, and that sounded really great. And so I heard of a bunch of people losing their entire life savings because they had to purchase a minimum number of books that are sitting right beside the workout equipment in their basement in boxes, and losing $50,000, $60,000, $100,000. Would that be about accurate?
Yeah, I mean, yes, accurate. And I think you're leading us down the path to something that's really important about self-publishing these days, is that many of the services now offer that print-on-demand option, right? So opening up the space to entrepreneurs, to people who have the message to share, but don't necessarily have a whole bunch of cash to, invest on books that end up in their basement.
Yes. And the shady, also leading to some shady people who say to you, I can get you published for, I've heard 10,000, 15,000, 20,000, 100,000, guarantee you can get on the New York. I was told I will get you on the New York Times bestseller list for $250,000. And I said, what? I thought that was on the merit of the book. I don't want to pay to get on a list. I mean, it would be great to get it. Don't get me wrong. I would love to. I'm grateful that mine made 8 bestseller lists, including number 1 on Amazon, number 4 on Denver Post. I'm happy that happened. And just knowing that the list is boughtable is very disturbing. So that's what has happened, I believe, to, correct me if I'm wrong, but this whole movement towards anyone can publish a book has its downside.
Agreed. And certainly quality of books and just, sheer numbers in the marketplace, which makes the competition and the noise really distracting.
Mm-hmm. And as well as the placement on lists, even when, someone says I got number 1 on Amazon, what was the category? And it's this really crazy, no one ever heard of category. So that's also, mine was, believe it or not, Christian self-help, which I'm a little allergic to religion. I'm spiritual. So when I first heard that, I texted my big brother, Michael Bernard Beckwith, and went, I can't believe this. This is like irony, right? I'm allergic to religion, and I hit number 1 on Christian self-help. His response was, well, Christians could use some help with happiness. So, but anyway, so you tell me how your program is different and how it cares for the author, which is the reason I have you on my show, because I do not want to promote people who are not legit. So
Absolutely.
go ahead.
Yeah, I appreciate that question and the spirit of that question a lot, and your approach especially. Yeah, so I start because the kinds of books that I'm helping folks with are books that position them as an expert in their field, right? But it's not just a business book. It's a book that helps share their story, right? Bring their message to the world, helps them make the impact that they want to make. So right out of the gate, because these people care so much about what they do and who they're helping, like I want to care for them, in your words, in a big way. So even before we start writing, we work on the foundation of that person's business and make sure that they're clear and dialed in with their audience, with their message, what they're offering, how they're articulating it, right? Making sure to use the audience's words. So one of the biggest reasons why so many business books fail is because they neglect to do that foundational stuff at the beginning. Like they may be offering great information, but not connecting to their audience in that relevant and impactful way. So that's the first step.
Got it. Yeah, because if you have no audience and consumer, it's like I always say, it doesn't matter how brilliant your idea is if you can't communicate it and connect it to someone who wants it. And there's always someone who wants what you have. That's the other thing, so, but just using a lot of writers and artists forget, right, that their talent is just in the shadows until they know how to shine some light on it.
Beautifully said.
Yeah. Thank you. So that would be the first step. And then after that?
Yeah, so I'll maybe talk about step 1B, is that, in that understanding of who their audience is and what their message is, that something I do that a lot of folks don't do is have the author get on the phone with their ideal client, many of their ideal clients, past clients, future potential clients, and ask them all those, really, really important foundational questions. What are your challenges? What are your fears? What are your goals? Record that language and use that language in their book, right? Very often, people like us and the listeners, many of the listeners of this show, are experts in their stuff, right? Like we've served a bunch of people, we've learned, experienced, we have skills, expertise, wisdom, all that kind of stuff. So sometimes we explain something and we explain it as an expert and not on the ground in the language that people are using to describe the thing that's keeping them up at night, right?
Great point. Yeah, it's like speaking their language, right?
So
great.
Yeah.
So you help people with this. The workshop itself is a 3-day, very intensive workshop, it sounds like. So you work with people, and it is virtual, right? So anybody can do it from anywhere. They can be in your Italian loving room, as I call my studio, my loving room in my home during the pandemic. But what else trips people up when they think about publishing their book?
Just the whole not understanding what self-publishing is or what traditional publishing is and what the best choice for them is, right? It's like that analogy of the iceberg. You see that little bit above the water and the rest is down below. That bit that's down below that people don't understand, it stops them from writing and stops them from finishing their book. Like that's a huge thing. I mean, it took me a while to understand that. But when I did, I started saying that to people, and people would be like, "Oh my God, I didn't even realize that until you said it," right? So, yeah, so just demythologizing publishing really helps people. And the other bit, which I find tremendously powerful, is that guaranteed, if you sit down to write a book or dictate a book, whatever methodology you're using, it's going to stir the pot, right? Like whatever needs to come up is going to come up in a big, loud way. It's going to be uncomfortable. There might be thoughts and feelings and judgments and shame and all these things. So to give people, and this, I teach this at my course, to give people a very simple method for how to navigate that stuff when it comes up, right? Because, you didn't ask for that stuff, but there it is. So instead of fighting with it, right? Like the universe is unfolding like this, do you fight with the universe, or do you just kind of go, okay, there's that, let me move over here, right? So I teach a methodology for that. And when you start relaxing into what's coming up, then there's more spaciousness. When there's more spaciousness, your mind is lighter. And then the insight, the intuition, the download, all that stuff comes through much more clearly, and the channel is live.
Got it. So give me an example, because it sounds like this is something that happened with your own writing. So give me a practical example of something that came up for you, if you don't mind, and sort of how you work through that.
Yeah, thank you. So, one of the big ones for me is procrastination. I'm an epic professional procrastinator. So when I sit down,
I've always wanted to be a procrastinator, but I've never gotten around to it.
Okay. Beautiful.
Sorry, I had to insert that. That's one of my favorite. It's a Stephen Wright, to give him credit. Okay. Go ahead. So you're a big procrastinator too. Okay.
Yeah.
So
yes. Yeah. So just when I notice, I'm sitting down to do something creative, AKA writing the book, and all of a sudden I find myself in the kitchen, or I'm rearranging a shelf, or I'm doing laundry, and
cleaning
it's like,
out.
Wait a minute, right? Like, how did I get over here? That's the point where, I'll stop and check in, and the methodology, I'm giving a sneak preview here. The methodology is actually really straightforward, right? And I learned this from an amazing teacher that I've been working with for a bunch of years, that you recognize the distraction, whatever it is, and then relax your head, relax your face, and smile, right? Because there's that neurological connection between smiling and, your chemistry, your circuitry, your biology. And when you smile, your mind lightens, and you have so much more of an opportunity to actually make a choice rather than being swept up in what your mind, or in how your mind is overtaking you.
Interesting. So the 50,000 crazy monkey chatter critical stuff can be lessened or loosened just by a breath and a smile. I've been saying a breath, so that, in through the nose, out through, but not a smile. So thank you for that. I think I might steal that.
My pleasure. Please do. Yeah. One of I don't know how much you've, are familiar with, like, what the Buddha actually taught, the historical Buddha. And he taught many things in his lifetime, and what an amazing dude. But one of the things that he really came across was he used the term, or it's translated as tranquilizing the bodily formations, right? So it's essentially relaxing into what comes up. So instead of creating constriction and tightness around, like, oh, this thing, it's like, there's that thing, let me ease into it, right? And then you don't get hooked on it. You're not, in his terms, creating karma around that. You're not reinforcing the habituation around, oh, I don't like that, or oh, I want more of that. You're just kind of going, okay, there's that thing. Now let me choose.
Beautiful. Chill and choose.
Chill and choose, yes.
There's a new one.
I like it.
You inspired me for that. All right. So, okay. So you have a methodology for anyone who has always wanted to write a book, has, for whatever reason, fear, procrastination, self-doubt, financial restrictions, not been able to do that. So your program works through all of that to begin the process, correct? You're not actually writing a book in those 3 days, but you're introducing the process, because it's very a nominal fee, right? It's only, how much is it?
$47 for the regular ticket and $147 for the VIP ticket,
which is extremely affordable. So if you are listening and you have ever thought about writing a book. I would say $49 is, or $47 is a very doable, just don't go to Starbucks for a week and you'll have that money to give it a try. And that's in 2 weeks. So great. I think that this is definitely something for what you call the solopreneur. Now, did you come up with that term? I don't know if I remember hearing that. What's a solopreneur versus an entrepreneur?
The way I understand the distinction, and I've never actually done the research, is just very much that they're like a solo operator. Like very often the entrepreneur will have, a team, maybe they'll have venture capital behind them, etc. The solopreneur is often the speaker, the coach, the consultant, the trainer, that kind of person, who's really building not only the business kind of on their own, but very much what they're teaching and offering is an expression of who they are and the challenges that they've overcome that they can now share with the world.
So it looks like I have a new word to put in my description on my social media. I didn't know that. It was actually pretty funny. I didn't even realize I was an entrepreneur until I went to CEO Space International and Bernie Dorman, God rest his soul. We lost him to COVID, but it was there that I realized after 20 years of solopreneuring that I was an entrepreneur when he asked me to join faculty. Like, hello, sometimes self-awareness doesn't come quickly, but anyway, so unbelievably, we are almost out of time. Did that go fast for you? It went really super fast for me. The last question that I always ask my guests is, to who or what are you most grateful for? To who or what are you most grateful for?
Wow. I mean, we could be here
That's
for
good.
hours.
We have 1 minute.
Right? Yeah. So there was a guy, my grandfather fought in World War II, like saw action in World War II. He was in a tank and the tank got hit by a shell, and some guy pulled my grandfather out of the burning tank and got him off the field and to safety. And if that didn't happen, I wouldn't be standing here today.
Oh, well, that is you get the most unique gratitude award for that, for that little story, personal story. I'm so grateful to have had you on my show to share your unique gift, talent, and ability that you're using to help people who want to get their story on paper and to the world. And for that, I am grateful. And once again, how do people register and find you online? They go to
publishpositionandprofit.com. Once again, publishpositionandprofit.com to register for the event. And I would love, Marissa, to offer also a gift to your folks, because everybody thank you. Everybody can use great testimonials and reviews for their books, brand, and business, of course. So if you go to bookreviews.cc, once again, bookreviews.cc, you can get a great, easy plug-and-play template for a bunch of testimonials. You fill them out and then you send them to somebody and you say, hey, I'd love a testimonial. I know you're busy. I wrote one for you. Please bless it, edit it, or write your own. Thank you very much.
Wow, that is very valuable for sure. So today's Asian Oprah giveaway, you get a bookreviews.cc, you get a book review, and that template for even if you're not writing a book. I think it's so important that every person that is in business for themselves, which is everybody, even if you're working for somebody else, you're still fundamentally in business for yourself. So should you want to go out on your own, it is always great. I have a playlist on my phone that says testimonials. And whenever someone compliments me, I say, thank you very much. Do you mind putting that on tape? So then I go and I video them. So this is really valuable. Thank you for that, Ben. So again, you go to Book Reviews with an S.
Correct.
Okay, bookreviews.cc for today's Asian Oprah giveaway. And that's it for today's very informative show with Ben Gioia, who's going to help you get your book published. Don't forget to register for his event in 2 weeks, and that's October
29th, 30th, and 31st.
Fantastic. And this is Dr. Marissa reminding you that it's all about balance, peace in, peace out, world peace through inner peace, and have the best weekend ever.